DJ Daniela with I Wanna Dance with Somebody. I'm actually wondering what mood she is in this morning. But I do hope that your household is doing very well. I am doing good. And thank you for being our guest on Home Affairs every Saturday morning, 6:15 through to 7:30. Our mandate is to make homes out of houses. Hopefully, prayerfully, we are doing just that. Your feedback tells us so. Your encouragement tells us so. Your being here every weekend tells us so. And we're very appreciative of it. Last week, we brought you an insightful conversation with a power couple, Ivan and Catherine Koshiga. We delved into their lives as a couple working together. They shared with us the challenges that could come with that terrain, what you have to do to surmount it and remain a lovely couple even as you work together. Dr. Asafo, I haven't told you this, but you're next in line. You and Nana Sam. So one of these days, we will have Dr. Asafo and his wife in the studio as well. They have been working together forever. And honestly, I admire those because it's not easy. Even if you are not working together, you have your own conflicts and things. Then you move from the house, you go to work, you come back and challenge. Those people, salutes. But we're back to our conversation. We started a conversation about 2 weeks ago. Let me quickly acknowledge our sponsors on Home Affairs. Amasha Partners Limited and iCare. Yum Vita, a delicious way to grow. Dano Milk, choose tasty milk. Choose nourishment. Choose Dano Milk. Dano Milk, go for it. We started a conversation 2 weeks ago about this couple who dated, we're looking at the X factor. So they dated about 7 years and had to go their separate ways. Reasons, it was genetics. So it wasn't like you hurt me, I hurt you, I didn't want you again, or you offended me and all that. And so they had to part ways and decided that, look, you're still my G for life, you're my friend, you're my companion, you're everything. They started a business together even before they had to go their separate ways. Dude says, you know what? Keep the business. I will still feed it with clients and all that. He left the country to the UK and started a life there. This lady got married. He got married. He had to tell his wife that, the lady is his cousin, and she was not able to fully disclose the level of relationship she had with, the other guy to her husband. And eventually, husband had to find out that, look, this is the death of relationship his wife has with his ex, He came down for like 2 weeks, and all the 2 weeks she had taken time off work and was with him. She said they just didn't get intimate, and all that. So at the end of the day, husband is now aware of the death of relationship. You are working with him. You are supervising his building projects. He came to the country. You were with him all the 2 weeks. Your emotional needs and everything is dependent on him. And husband says that cut it off if we have to continue our relationship. Choose between me and, your ex. And she's saying that I don't even have anything intimate to do with my ex, Even when we dated for all the 7 years, we never had sex. We've just been good. We built our relationship on other things other than sex. So it's not going to happen. He came 2 weeks. I was close to him. It didn't happen. So your place in my life and your place of intimacy and everything is intact. I am doing that with this other guy. Just allow me to continue to be friends with him like we have been. And, if we didn't chance on my messages, you wouldn't have known anything and there would have been peace. And she actually did say that they were not buddies like she is with her ex, but they are good together as a couple. Now the relationship is threatened. She doesn't know how she's gonna back off from, her ex, and I mean she wants to keep her marriage as well. So that's the story we looked at 2 weeks ago. And my guests, Mama T, PG, Sebastian, and Ariel, the wellness coach, were here 2 weeks ago. And then so we delved into it. We looked at, they shared some very interesting thoughts, and we said we were going to continue to look at, okay, if you have to break off a relationship, how do you go about it? How do you have proper closure in your relationship, especially so if it is not based on you offended me, I am hurt, I don't want our paths to cross again, I don't ever want to see you again. Those ones is dead and gone. But in a situation like this, where it is not dead and gone, we didn't go away because we wanted to go away. We went away because we had to go away, and that's why we went away. And we have kept a relationship. We're still cordial. We are still good. And, so these are some of the things. And you're wondering, if you have to break off a relationship, we'll look at the various circumstances under which relationships will get broken. What conversations must you have? How do you fully leave it behind and move forward? In a case where you probably even had a child, even you weren't married, but you were dating and had a child or two, because we have lots of those around, and you still have to move away. What level of communication, what level of contact do you keep because you have children in between the two of you? Some can be very complex. So we will be looking at some of these today so that we all know how to be able to move forward when we find ourselves in these situations. So I'd like you to take a listen to some of the thoughts that our guest shared 2 weeks ago, and then we will get into today's conversation.
It's very, very tricky, regardless of the fact that you had an issue that was as serious as genetics, and so you couldn't marry. Your emotions are not really about the situation that happened. So it's a tricky territory. But she has reasons that she thinks they can't let go. They are in business, actually, if I got it right. Yeah. And now you're choosing. The bottom line is you're making a choice. And the choice will come with consequences. And your husband is also, giving you ultimatum or something like that. That do this or do that or do this. So understanding her, I can understand that she finds value in what they have, but I don't understand why she can't also put a premium on her marriage, because she gave up on this for a reason and she committed to someone else.
They dated for 7 years.
Yeah.
That's a lot of time for the guy to know you intimately.
Yeah.
What it means is that at every point in time, if he's an evil person or a person of malice, yes, he knows what to press, what button to press. And you are back to them again. I in my experience counseling people, I realize that majority, I don't want to give it a particular percentage, but majority of people who along the road in their marriage, they've fallen short. You realize that they did it with an ex, not with a total stranger, because there is a connection. Absolutely. There is a security.
Some level of trust.
Some level of trust.
It does not necessarily take you sleeping together as having sex to be having a relationship. The relationships you almost always begin at the point where our energies, where our our emotions are deeply involved. So they are so deeply involved that we are able to say that you see what, when they got together in the 2 weeks, and we have already spoken about it. If you both know, your partners know each other, why did you even have to lie? What is it that you're trying to cover? What is your conscience talking about? I keep telling Christians, if even God is not speaking and the Bible is not speaking, your conscience is the strongest person that speaks to you. So
say your conscience is the strongest person that will speak to you. So those were some of the thoughts that were shared on the show last week. And today, like I said, we did establish last week that keeping close relationships with your last 2 weeks, that keeping close relationships with your ex, especially so relationships that don't have boundaries like this one, could be detrimental to your next relationship. We established that. But we also do understand that, like this lady and many others, there are some people who just don't know how to break it off properly. That's a good reason we can't be together. So we can't be together. But then, okay, we're good friends, or we started off when we were young, sometimes, those feelings that comes when you are in primary, junior, secondary school, and you grow. There are people who are married and still have their childhood sweethearts as their best friends, kind of, those things, and they all creep into the relationship somehow. So how do you move? How do you progress from some of these relationships that you have courted over time, that have served you well, and now you find yourself elsewhere? How do you move such that I was going to ask questions, but it would be like I'm putting clauses in there, so I'll leave it there. PG and Ariel, good morning. PG is a relationship coach. He loves to coach young people planning to get married. You're already married, you're having issues here and there. Even if you're not having issues and you just want to keep cruising on cloud 9 so that you don't have issues, he has a lot of time to do that with you. And then Ariel, the wellness coach, you should see her. Coach you on wellness. Hey, Charlie, today we are wearing red. Charlie.
Oh, you guys,
this woman is giving us pressure, PG. Madam,
that's not fair. Look at PG. Look at PG.
When I walked in,
please.
When we walked in, Daniela, PG, are you going somewhere? So I was just coming
look
here.
At PG. I'm like, really?
No, we are living it.
Really?
We're living it.
I actually have to go home and change and come back.
Hey, we are learning from you. Where is Mama T?
We miss her.
Mama T couldn't make it today. But it's always a pleasure to be seated around, you people, the thoughts we share, the friendship and everything. And I know that it translates into people's homes. So even before you say anything, I want to say thank you.
Thank you too.
Thank you.
Great. So who is going? How do we disentangle, bring closure, break off from some of these relationships? And I say that relationships that you have courted and nurtured. And we'll start with this particular one, where we didn't have to go away. We didn't want to go away. We had to go away. And so because of that, we are not enemies. We are not, how do you keep these relationships sane? Yeah.
All right, Edem, good morning once again to our cherished listeners. When relationships have to end, under circumstances that sometimes is beyond a couple, or you get to find out that yes, definitely it's beyond a couple, so it wouldn't have actually been as a result of any intended malice or unintended malice, between them, or in the actions of one person against the other. Normally, you find out that probably it's like in this lady's case, genetics. Sometimes it's the need to travel. Sometimes one person is too ready, the other person isn't ready. Sometimes family pressure and all of that. Now, when all of these exogenous factors come in to, put pressure on the couple and they have to go their separate ways, I think that first and foremost, we all need to confront the demon that we're dealing with, okay? And the demon is that we can't be together. Whether it's because of my family, whether because you're traveling, whatever, we can't be together. Because I believe in one thing. You can't have your cake and eat it. You understand? So if the two of you feel that you can weather this external storm that is coming, you weather it through and then stay together. But once you agree that you're going to go your separate ways because the storm that is coming is more than you can handle, or it becomes a necessity for you to go your separate ways, you need to also make peace with that.
It means you didn't love yourselves enough to
exactly
to decide that
sacrifice.
even
Yes.
with or without children in their case,
Thank
we
you.
still want to be
Yeah. Thank
together.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what makes the difference. Because
Yeah.
people have loved. Much as that also constitutes some form of rebellion, people have loved themselves to the point that they've eloped. People
Yeah.
have loved themselves to the point that
Exactly.
they turn
Yeah.
their back on their family.
True.
People have loved themselves to the point that they said that, listen, even if we can't give birth because of genetic factors,
Still
because
wanna
of
be
that,
with you.
we'll
Yeah.
be together and probably will adopt. People have loved themselves to say that we'll be together. All I want is you.
Perfect.
So the people have had reasons to stay together.
Yeah.
So if you choose to accept or to have a conversation which in your view is pragmatic, we respect that. But you should also appreciate the fact that these things come with their own consequences.
Yeah.
True.
And so every choice has an outcome. And if you choose that you want to go away, talk about it. First thing is, let's just sit down and out of respect, let's talk about it. Let's be very candid. Let's be very frank. Let us do thorough appreciation or thorough audit of the process or the situation, the various components of this uncoupling. Okay, there will be the issue about emotional bond, there will be the issue about physical space, there will be the issue of financial support or any form of dependencies, if there is any. There will be so many issues, and we need to look at the entire process and ask ourselves that, are we ready to let it go? So we have to discuss every joint investment that we have. We have to discuss if there are children involved. We need to discuss custody and co-parenting and all of that. If there are some social circles that we both belong to, which may make it quite difficult for us to actually be separated, because we'll always be seeing each other. Like, say, we go to church, we belong to a particular social club or whatever, we constantly go for meetings, which would make it quite difficult. Probably we are neighbors, we live in the same, say, apartment complex, and we are actually like not tenants, we are like landlords. So I am stuck with you for the rest of my life until we buy different apartments. Like, you need to be granular when it comes to these things. Analyze everything. Don't be so emotional, don't be so dramatic, and then just jump off the deep end, not actually having thought through all of these things. Now, when you do that, give each other space to sort out their emotions. I think that's one of the biggest challenge we have, especially in Ghana here. People break up and the next day they are your friends, and then, hey, how are you? I'm just checking on you. Have you eaten? I saw you at this place and you were with that guy. Is that your new boyfriend? Can you just give the girl already like some space? It's bad enough that she's bleeding.
Oh my
It's
God.
bad enough that he's bleeding. But can I just have some space to rest? Let me get you out of my system. You understand? I think that people need that, and we need to respect boundaries. Then the guy said, "Auntie, I'm not interested again. Stop texting him. Stop checking out on him. You are not his mother." Allow the lady to be. You said you are not interested. Respect that boundary. The one either you created or the one that at the deep thought she or he created. Let's just respect that. Allow people to be. Let them heal. Let them lick their wounds. Let them come out of all the emotional whatever. If they have to eat ice cream and beans and gain 2 or 3 pounds, I know Ariel won't agree with that. Let them go through their grief process. But allow people the space to sort out their emotions. And when we do this, I think that later on when we meet, our relationship gets to be better.
Healthier.
And then finally, I would say that, listen, if you don't press the green button, we are not going to make a phone call. If you don't,
Exactly.
if you don't send a text or don't reply to the text, the conversation breaks. So we should also be strong enough to respect their privacy, especially in the digital space. You know, where you're not going to watch their status. Then you go and see the guy just having the blast of his life. Then you start crying because you are having a pity party. You're expecting him to also throw a pity party, but he's at the beach with his boys. And then you start crying. And then you go and see his Facebook post. And then you are like all over the place. Like, can we not do any of
Then you
that?
become a motivational speaker.
You become a motivational speaker and a Zen preacher. Like, I am all for the slay. I am like single and independent. And you cut your hair.
Christ, have mercy on your children. You know the one that interests me is when, like you're saying, sometimes this other person who has probably moved on and you think they are partying and everything, it's just their way of dealing with
Their
it.
coping mechanism. They themselves challenge
It's not like they're
Yeah.
happy.
No.
They're just trying to deal
to
with
move
it.
on, yeah.
And then you go like, hey, so you moved on so fast. It means you really never loved me.
Yes. And you know, most often than not, people want to create, especially when the other person moves on and they are hurt. Sometimes they want to create an impression that, well, I couldn't even feel it.
Yeah.
Like,
I
you
don't
have nothing
care.
on me.
I'm
Exactly.
good.
They do the extra. Listen,
Yeah.
there's so many people who have posted pictures on Facebook in my friends that I've sent them a message that, I don't know what is going on with you, but you come across like you're throwing shade at a man. Are you still married? Are you going through a divorce? Then they will tell you yes. And I said, no, stop posting those pictures. Because that's not you. That's not what you do every day.
Oh, dear.
So this is just like totally out of course. And you make it so obvious that you actually rebelling against something, against someone. And you actually look ridiculous. I've had to shut a few of my friends down on that. So sometimes while you're trying to do that, you're actually showing a certain level of weakness that you don't intend to show. You are putting so much out for people to figure that, no, there's a drastic change around you. What is triggering it? And most often you get to find out it's because of a man. And usually it's the women who do that. I mean, I'm not saying guys don't do, but it's normally the women, the photo shoot ones.
It's hard,
PG.
though. It's not easy.
The things love coming.
The pressure,
Yeah.
the pressure gets worse.
I think we give ourselves a lot of pressure sometimes from what a PG is saying, which is very, very true. And especially when you're breaking up with someone or you've ended a relationship and you feel like, okay, I'm angry at him and he hurts me, and so I want him to know that I'm better off without him. You end up actually becoming weak when you try to prove that I'm better off without you. But coming back to what we are talking about, I mean, starting from what we did 2 weeks ago, PG said it, I mean, and I like what he said. This is not something that should have even led to this. If this girl and this guy were very strong on the love they had and say, we're going to stay regardless of the fact that we can't have kids. But if you decide to end it, then you should know that this is going to go into other areas of your life. So what will happen when they didn't do all that serious conversation. And as we brought it up last week, if it was not a secret, it wouldn't have even led to the husband becoming uncomfortable with it. So if you're ending a relationship and you think this person didn't work for me in a romantic way, but works for me as a friend, there's nothing wrong with being friends with your ex. But it is the amount of engagement that you continue to have that makes it become a problem. Now, if you realize that this person, I still would want to get back with this person, then you sure can't be friends with him if he has moved on. So if he has moved on and said this is over, but you still like him and you're very aware that I still would want this guy, then you can't be friends with him. But if you know that between me and PG, romantic relationship or getting married was not going to be very possible, but we can be friends. I mean, there's nothing wrong. But even then, your engagement, what you decide to do, your personal life that you share, your calls and everything, there should be some limits, because you are going to meet someone and you can't tell the person to understand, regardless of how you think there's nothing wrong, that PG is my very, very good friend. Every morning he will call me and we'll talk. So obviously it is not healthy. We are looking at you going into another relationship and creating a healthy space for the other person coming in. So if you are keeping a friendship with an ex and you think, okay, because I still like him as a friend, my other partner shouldn't have a problem with it, it is wrong. Secondly, if you are keeping a friendship with an ex and you realize that you get hurt when you see him with someone else, then you can't be friends with him. Then you totally need to cut off and move on, because you are still intimate at some level with this person. So if you see them with a woman, or you see them having their life going on, it still hurts you. It means you need to totally cut it off. But you can be friends if you realize that you can be happy for them moving on with their life, and you are happy with yourself wherever you are. You've made peace with it. Made peace with the fact that it didn't work out between me and Kwesi, and so this is where Kwesi is and this is where I am. So the dynamics, as we are saying, can be different. There are instances where people will break up and they have children, and one person can be very bitter to the extent that they can even prevent you from talking to the children, or actually become very tell the kids things about the other partner that is bad to influence the children to turn to them. I've heard a very strong story where the woman was able to keep the children towards that for a long time, until they became teenagers and realized we love daddy. So even if you have children with someone and their relationship doesn't work, with the fact that you have children, there's a need to maintain very healthy boundary and have a healthy relationship because of that bond. It will always be there until the children themselves grow and leave both of you, and so they can maintain friendship with both of you in their own way. So don't think it has to be bitter just because it didn't work. It has to be healthy. I think that is my word. It has to be healthy. Whether it's an ex you have children with, whether it's an ex you just had a dated for 5 years, 6 years, whatever, and it didn't work and you are going to get married, the breaking off, you need to have a holistic approach to it. Just like PD said, groups you go together, meetings you go together. Some of them, one person may need to say, I'm not going anymore because it won't be helpful for me, depending on how this ended. Right. So people need to take responsibility. You can't eat your cake and have it. You can't say it's over, but I want all of the other things, but not what the society or what it will affect my other relationships. So you have to be responsible that if you decide to end it, there are certain things that also has to end with it.
Some more.
They breathe.
I don't know if you saw the way I was looking at the two of you when you were making your submissions, because I mean sometimes you begin to have a conversation and then we realize that okay, this is more complex than you thought.
Yeah.
It's not just as straightforward. You don't have answers to everything because relationships come in different dynamics. The reasons you're parting are very different, And for instance, the what was going through my mind was the group thing you're talking about, right? Yeah. For instance, you all probably it's a professional group. Yep. You have couples who find themselves in the same profession, and it's a professional group. Yep. You people all have like good positions in there. I'm saying it because I know a couple like that. Mm-hmm. And then you had to go off. Yeah. Why am I giving up on this thing that has my life and everything in it for you? Yeah. And they're in there, and my friend will come back to tell me, Edem is so awkward because in that meeting, even things that sometimes we don't have to snap at each other about, you throw a subtle jab, because you're upset. But then this is something that my life depends on, so I'm not going to let it go. Yeah. In such a situation, what do? Sometimes the awkwardness of you have left your partner, especially those that there are children in, right? Mm-hmm. You left the person and then you've moved on, they have moved on. Definitely one person is always very bitter, depending on who is initiating the break. Right. If it is not like the one we were looking at and someone had to initiate if you initiated it against me and I wasn't expecting it, then I am very upset with you, especially so if I had to come and ask you, why are you doing this? And I had to go through the process of begging you and all that, and you didn't even look at my emotions and my love for you, and you still said, I'm done. Mm-hmm. I will end up being bitter against you for, some time. And if there are children, You try to, pull yourself up. You walk into the apartment and you see how they have done well for themselves and they are doing good, and you're tempted to pass a comment, that, oh, you look good or you look beautiful. And like PG is saying, sometimes just because you know that your ex is coming to have the children, you want to, step it
high
up.
level.
You want to step it up.
Just for the shade. Just
Now,
for the shade.
I want to find out from you, that is if you have the answers to it. Why does it happen that way? That you would want... Why do we do it? Is it to let the person know that you left something good? Is it to say that I still want you? What are you communicating when you do that?
Yeah. I think...
Did you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I do. I'm processing.
I'm processing,
Because
but
it happens a lot.
It happens a lot.
And those are the reasons people will go on Facebook and
post
because
all sort of pictures. And
what
stuff.
are you communicating? I mean, if you're able to break it down, I'll be happy. That you, the individual, what could they be feeling? And apart from that, what could you also be communicating to the other person by the things you're doing?
I feel that a lot of ladies don't want to be in the Jolene song. Jolene, 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 Jolene.
I'm begging
No,
on you, please
that's a very
don't
sad,
take my
That's
man.
a very sad song. And I think that most people don't know.
We should play it.
One day I actually took time to listen to the song.
Yeah,
I think
it is.
It broke my heart. Like, this song
It is.
so
Dolly Parton is a very
it-
good,
it-
it's a
it
very
broke my-
great
and I
song,
think a lot
yeah.
of people don't want to sound or look that needy.
Yeah.
Look that desperate, feel that their entire life is just upended because a man left me or a woman left me, and then all of that. So sometimes, in their bid to create a facade, they sometimes come across doing it a little bit too extra. So then they cultivate this egg position where you were just like all tough on the outside, but down deep you were weak,
Broken.
you were broken, you were sad, you were everything, emotionally unstable. You understand? And I think that there's something a lot of people need to watch. Relationship has ended, just be yourself. Except that one of the reasons for the relationship ending is how probably you were carrying yourself.
So you want to show now
Yes,
you're
you want to
doing
show
it
that you
better.
can do it better.
Yeah,
But then what would be the point? Or unless you are saying that maybe I was the way I was because of you. That as a man, I lost so much. I lost myself. I lost myself a sense of confidence and everything because of how you made me feel.
Yeah.
Or as a woman, just like all over the place.
Yeah.
And so when he leaves and your life begin to, recongregate, if there is a word like that, or your different pieces of your life find confluence in each other.
Now you're finding yourself.
Then you're finding yourself.
Yeah.
You're beginning to emotionally, mentally regroup. You are beginning to pull your life together. You are now paying attention to your skin, paying attention to your hair, paying attention to your way of life. Where you go to, what you eat, how you dress.
Yeah.
You are now becoming conscious because now you don't have a man or a woman who was like constantly on top of you, constantly nagging, constantly fleecing you financially and everything. So now you have some funds, you have some emotional space, you have some mental space to become a better person. So unless that was the situation, and therefore you naturally becoming a better person or beginning to glow, it's not as a result of any rebellion or as a result of you doing anything against your ex, but it's a natural consequence of the ending of that relationship, unless that is the situation. But if you were just doing it to prove a point, to spite them, I mean, sometimes you just do and do, and then later you see that ex with another partner and realize, oh gosh, I better stop doing because the guy or the girl has upgraded and nothing I can do can change that. And sometimes that's how it feels like, because most people upgrade after relationships, even if that upgrade was just like something that they had to do everything to acquire just for the optics of it, they would always want to upgrade. So you see the lady who left the guy who was just probably driving like a Corolla, now driving somebody who, hanging out with somebody who drives like a bigger car, lives in a better place. Sometimes probably you are just trying to prove a point. So those who move on and those who meet those who move on, at some point in time, everybody just try to prove a point. But you end up looking ridiculous. Sure. You end up biting sometimes more than you can bite.
Yeah.
You get into all sort of debts, trying to do photo shoot, trying to change your costume or your wardrobe, trying to eat at some places, trying to belong. Because of course, if
but
you
I am better off without you.
You know,
When in actual fact
you are not. You go to night, you go to sleep at night, and you cry yourself to sleep.
Oh.
Your bed sheets, your pillowcase always has to be changed because you're constantly crying. You are always putting them outside there for them to dry. Like, you are eating the bread of sorrow, like literally. But when you come out there, instead of appreciating the fact that, listen, the first point or the first thing I need to do is to heal, be a better person. Let me just take care of myself. No, you were just like trying to prove a point to people. So you go out there, you are empty, but you look good. So at a point in time, it reflects in some of these little confrontations that are unintended.
Yeah.
You know, because probably you met them at a social club or something. They just said something and then just blew up. Because now you are not just angry at them for leaving you. You're also angry at them for putting you sometimes in a financial position you didn't want to be, or probably because you wanted to prove a point, you got into a rebound relationship with someone else just so that you can get over them, and it didn't work. So you realize that you are losing more than just the relationship, and it becomes very frustrating. And some of them, especially the women, and let me just say this, I'm not saying it out of malice, but women, if you leave your man and their children in it, don't try to overcompensate their children to prove a point. I can do it without you. Yeah. That's what happens. A lot of them end up sending their kids to different schools, doing everything extra. Then you start corrupting their children because you don't want the children to go to their dad, and their dad will get the impression that, okay, they needed a phone, they don't have a phone, or they needed this, they don't have this. So everything the children want, you provided, so that when they go to their dad won't have a need
to do anything.
So it's like, basically, you are literally trying to prove to the guy that we don't even need you, we don't need your penny, we don't need this, but you're struggling.
But that's so childish.
And trust me, the kind of things people would do. And then again, there are also the men who, knowing very well the custody arrangement, they'll come for the children. They know that the children, the woman will probably come for the children, say Sunday 5 p.m. That's when they'll switch off their phone, or they go for a meeting. You call and call and call and call. And probably where you live and where the woman lives is quite a distance. So she doesn't want to just drive all the way to your house, not knowing where you are. And sometimes, like, you call them back like 10 p.m., like 9 p.m. Well, I'm here, the kids are here, come for them. So literally, you've ruined the ladies' weekend simply because you just want to punish them for leaving you. Like, people are doing the most when it comes to some of these things. You understand? So for me, it's multifaceted. And I honestly, I don't even know which part I'm talking about. But like, it's all over the place, you know. So those of you who are ending your relationship, don't get yourself involved in other relationship to prove a point. Don't get yourself in a certain lifestyle to prove a point.
Yeah.
Don't be malicious to prove a point. Yeah. Like, can we all just give each other space? It was a choice we both made, or it was a choice that was made for us. Whatever it is, I don't think your man loved you enough to want to stay, or your woman loved you enough to want to stay. So just come to that existential truth and then just have your peace.
I think what happens when you're doing this is you start losing yourself. You think you are finding yourself, but you're rather losing yourself because you're just doing this to prove a point. And that will not be the authentically you. And at that point, because you're just trying to create this new face, new image, new whatever, for this other person to think, okay, maybe I lost something.
You are creating you don't know what you're missing.
Yeah, what you're missing. You are rather losing your true self. And that becomes difficult, just like PG has narrated. It makes life very, very difficult for you. And that now becomes a mental health issue for you. It can become a physical problem for you. Socially, it affects you. Occupationally, it affects you because you go to work and now you are unsatisfied with what you get out of work because you want to create another way of living just to spite someone. You lose so much. And finding yourself shouldn't be something that you start doing because a relationship ended. Finding yourself should be a daily agenda for you because you are your own rescue. Your well-being is non-negotiable. You are always going to be with yourself. So if you think I have to be better because he was there and he left, so I'm going to make sure I'm better now, are you saying that if someone else comes, you're going to fall back again? You know, so being yourself and finding yourself and truly owning your life should be an everyday thing. Not because a relationship ended and you're like, I gave all my life to this relationship and because it's over, I'll now change my image, I'll now do this, I'll now do that, I'll now do that. There's a conflict there right there when you start doing that because you think, okay, because it ended now, I will change who I am. Going after your life is something that is not something you put aside till you think, okay, I have to prove myself that I could do it. The moment you want to be successful to spite someone, that is where you failed. But the moment you want to be successful because you think that is the potential I have to reach for this, that is the kind of fulfillment I want for myself, the thought line, the goals, the vision, the inspiration you use to go after the things is also different. And that enhances your well being. But as soon as it's because you're doing it to let the world or people or your ex know that I could have done all this, but because you were there, I couldn't do it.
Yep.
Then you've lost the whole thing already. So the way we look at life in itself, it's very important. Sometimes we look at life just based on one person's perception. Your own perception about life is where you should be, channeling your energy to. And every day you are channeling your energy, and it's either it's improving you or not. Improving you. If you are channeling your energy in a way that everything you're doing is supposed to make someone feel like I am here, then you are not actually channeling your energy to things that you want, but what somebody will see and may say, okay, this is what she wants, but that's not what you want. You lose yourself. And the more you lose yourself, the more you get up every day and try to see what is in this life for me. And the more you are asking what is in this life for me, the more you are trying to also prove yourself. And it comes with a lot of consequences, not just mental health, burnout. You lose life in itself, and it can cripple a lot of things. It affects your friendship with people, your daily actual living will be affected just because you are not authentically living a life that you know you want to live, but you are living just because you are proving a point. It will really affect you.
Great.
Jolene, 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 I'm begging of you.
Partners Limited and IK. Yum Vita, a delicious way to grow. Dano Milk, choose tasty milk. Choose nourishment, choose Dano Milk. And Dano Milk, go for it. And a Yum Vita infant cereal with milk is fortified with Nutri-V, which contains 16 essential vitamins and minerals, including zinc, iron, calcium to aid in baby's healthy growth. It comes in 3 delicious flavors: maize and wheat, a rice and wheat variant, and 3 unique pack sizes: 50 gram, 400 gram, and 350 gram block bottom pouch. Get the pack size that best suits your family needs. Yum Vita, a delicious way to grow. Hey, we asked him. Just look no further. Amasha Partners Limited and Eye Care has it all. Your eyes deserve the best care and quality designer eyeglasses. Amasha Partners and Eye Care Limited undertake the following services: supply of designer frames, eye testing, supply of lenses, sunglasses, contact lenses, ophthalmologist in attendance, and general treatment. Locate them at La Opsa Trade Fair, Spinters adjacent ICGC, before the Community 18 Junction, McCarthy Hill, opposite Benjay Lodge. You can also find them at you can also find them at Spencer's adjacent ICGC Community 18 Junction, McCarthy Hill, they're opposite Benjay Lodge. Not Kanishi, you'll find them opposite the Greenhand Junction. At Chimota, they are on the second floor of the Dainsua Plaza. When you go to Takoradi, they are on the Axim Road opposite CBG Bank. And then in Ho Housing Junction, Kumasi at the airport roundabouts. Kolebu, you will find them opposite ECG and Koforidua on the Central Hospital Road. And when you go to Tema, Community 1 Meridian Plaza, numbers to call 030-293-9850 or 030-277-8827. They're also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And yay, the rich taste of Dano milk makes a perfect combination with your tea, oats, Gary soakings, cocoa, and many more to give you that great taste that you've always desired. Dano milk is a rich source of natural protein and fortified with vitamin A. It has several other vitamins, essential nutrients that keeps you nourished and healthy every day. Dano milk is also rich in protein, which nourishes and grows your muscles for health and strength. Iodine, that one nourishes the brain to maintain and improve brain function. It gives you brain power. And vitamin B12 strengthens your immune system and keeps you healthy and strong. And the calcium in it gives you and your family strong bones and teeth. Choose Dano milk because 100% of our milk is sourced from our farms in Europe. So we control the entire production process to ensure that the milk that gets to you keeps its natural quality. Dano milk is natural. Dano milk comes in different variants. Dano milk cool cow or plain powdered milk. Dano milk coffee 3-in-1. Dano milk chocolate 3-in-1. And Dano evaporated milk. Dano milk is affordable and it's in a shop near you. Choose tasty milk. Choose Dano milk. Choose Dano milk. Dano milk. Go for it. If you just joined in, you have lost quite a bit, but no worries. At Joy997 on Facebook, on YouTube, you can catch it there because we were having a very important conversation. The part 2 of the X Factor and my guest, PG, Sebastian, and Ariel. And I asked them how to bring closure to a relationship so you can move on peacefully. And I will just try to reiterate some of the points that we have made on the show. Now, that you have to sit down and out of respect have a conversation. Audit the relationship. Look at all the components, involved in this uncoupling process. Dependencies, financial support and all that. Talk about them. Are there children involved? You want to talk about the custody issues, the co-parenting and all of that. You want to have this conversation. Do you have, social or professional associations or whatever that you two belong in? You need to talk about it. Do we both still need to be in that? If you decide to be in there, then you want to talk about the ethics that you're going to put up when you're there. Otherwise, if you two are very reasonable people and nobody is feeling like I am backing down for you, then maybe you two might want to decide that, look, it will be better if I went to a different church and you went to a different church, or the same church, but I choose a different branch. So you need to have all those conversations so the two of you can have your peace. Is it that you live around the same apartment, maybe in a flat or something, and you fell in love there? And all of those happen. Must somebody move out or all? You need to look at all the things that keep you coupled, and see how you're going to manage yourselves from then on. And most importantly, you will have to do this logically with less of emotions. So I will add that you probably want to give yourself time to heal off the emotions, because you know that as for the relationship, it won't come back again. Give yourself time. Put yourself in that sane state before you even go to have these conversations. Because if you are still all emotional and all still down, then you will mess up everything. Because these conversations are very serious conversations. I tell you, you need to have this conversation sitting at the table, not the one that you go to the person's house and there's a couch and you are holding onto a pillow and you won't get anywhere with it. Trust me. Now, since you should give space to sort out your emotions, is important. Respect the boundaries that now come with the fact that you are no longer together. Respect it. Especially so those ones that you two have decided to set for yourself after going through this checklist that we are putting out there for you. And allow people to heal, to grieve, and to come to terms with themselves the way they would want to. Not what you are prescribing for them. We are all different. Somebody wants to go on vacation and go dancing and all that just by way of freeing their minds because they don't like the fact that they're always seated and thinking about you and brooding and crying and knowing that you won't come back. So I'm better off being out there and doing the hey. It's okay. Now, the other tricky part, especially so for the women, is the fact that you get into, doing the most. Especially so when you are not healing with the most. If you are healing with the most, well, maybe that's you. But if you're not healing with the most and you are just doing all those things to spite the other person, you will end up, Ariel said that, you will end up even with mental health issues. You go past your head inside. Access your emotions. Especially so if you get hurt whenever you see them. You see them no, but then you charge. You have to access your emotions. And if there are kids involved, we're saying that do not pollute the kids against the other partner. You don't have to do that. And whatever relationship, Ariel mentioned that if for any reason you will have to keep some level of cordiality. I don't even want to call it friendship. You have to keep some level of cordiality. Make sure that it is healthy. It is healthy. And we need to give it a holistic approach. So all the things so like I am angry, I've taken my bag. I'll send somebody to come and pick the rest of my things. You haven't broken up. I tell you haven't broken up. You're only angry. You go and sit down and think about it.
And come back.
And come and ask, did you actually do this to me? Then when he goes like, babe, calm down. You sit down. You didn't break up.
That reminds me, of an incident that happened some years back with a friend who said, somebody said she's broken up with me. And I said, okay. And he said, why did I say okay? She's expecting that.
You should have cried.
And these are some of the things that bring all these complications.
Yeah.
Saying it's over when you know you're just doing it to
prove a point.
It's not good.
Exactly.
We need to make decisions. Decide.
Yeah, like adults.
You're playing with people's emotions.
One of the things I always tell people, and for every relationship that I've ever been in, it's always been the first thing I'll tell you. If you tell me it's over, it's actually over.
It's over.
So if you know, we are not kids. Don't be throwing those words around. Like if you're talking to a grown-up person who cut the phone on you. If you cut a call on me, the next time you need to talk to me, come and talk to me face to face because I'm not picking your calls again. If I'm talking to you and you walk out on me and you bang the door, me and you will never sit and have a face-to-face talk. Like, we need to be adults and mature enough to relate with people cordially, out of respect. Like, sometimes I don't get all these emotional outbursts. You see people in their 40s, people in their late 30s or in their 30s acting like kids because you're upset.
A lot of immaturity.
Yes, because you're upset. Let's not do that.
So, if you're ending it, make the decision.
Yes.
It's not today. It's over. Then you come back again, just like you say. You come back and then you say, "Did you do that to me?" Then you patch up again. This relationship will not grow.
People are in relationships; they are broken up 100 times.
Thank you.
No.
I have one question.
Your no should be no.
I have a question to ask. Before we end this conversation, and we also talked about that we should stop proving points, to each other, and your mental health is important in all of these. So consider it when you're doing all the back and forth. Now, Ariel talked strongly about finding yourself. You find yourself not because you want to spite the other person, but it's because it's the way to go.
Absolutely.
She asked that, is it that you will stop finding yourself or you will fall back when someone else comes in?
Yeah.
But finding yourself should be a personal agenda, and that probably will also help you in the healing process. Now, my last question before we leave here today. Someone says, good morning, Edem and team. I am currently in a similar situation, and truth is, it's becoming very difficult to part ways. He is in AC and I am in A. Oh, he is AC and I'm AS. I get that thing. And thanks for today's topic. We actually started this 2 weeks ago. You might want to check it on Facebook right from when we began it, and then Now, my question, after all of these things we have talked about, I'll ask any question again.
Edem, no.
So, at what point do you realize that I'm ready to move on? At what point do you realize I'm ready to move on? Because with this lady's situation, she was never ready to move on and she moved on. That is why we are here. Now, if you are seeing the person and you are throwing all those tantrums around, you were never ready to move on.
Yeah.
You broke up out of bitterness and you haven't moved on. So if you jump into another relationship, you are carrying the burden of this relationship into the other one.
Yeah.
So at what point do you as an individual, looking at all the emotions we have put out there, realize that I have come to the point where I have accepted? What do you start feeling inside of you? What do you start realizing about yourself to realize that this relationship is over? I will see this person and I am okay. I will move into the relationship and I will not be comparing and doing this and looking back and what. At what point do you as an individual, what do you start feeling to realize that, yeah, I have put this behind me and so I can move on and the in and out thing will not become a burden on the next person I am moving on with? What do you start feeling to realize that when I post a picture on Facebook,
It's
it is
not about
not
this.
because
About
I am
them.
spiting somebody, but it is just about me? How do we come to that point?
I think it starts from owning responsibility of where the relationship, your part you played in how the relationship panned out. Sometimes we don't own our responsibility, as in what we also contributed to where the relationship ended. And so we take one side, I was right, he was wrong.
Yeah.
And that is where it makes it difficult to bring total closure to the whole thing. There is nothing that you didn't contribute to. If he does something, you respond in a way that keeps it going, or you also do something that makes him do something. There's nothing that is coming uninvited. And so when a relationship ends, there's a need to be honest with yourself. What are my role that I also played for this not to hard work? If you don't do that, you can't find closure. You always think you didn't do anything, and that doesn't also help you to grow, to change and grow. It means you are stuck in your ways. You believe you are perfect. The other person is totally wrong. For me to move on, you need to make peace with what happened as well. And making peace with it is owning your responsibility. Maybe the responsibility you can own in it is maybe you didn't understand him from where he was coming from, or sometimes you might have pushed him too much for what you wanted in the relationship. Maybe I should have been patient with him, or maybe I acted too strongly as a woman for him and he couldn't stand it. So what did I do? It could be certain little things that you do. And it's not just the woman, the men too. You also played a role before the relationship came to where it got to. It's not a one person who didn't do it right. You both didn't do something right. Once you start owning your responsibility of the actions you might also have taken, it helps you to find acceptance with what is. Because you start telling yourself, I'm going to work on myself to become a better version of myself for the next relationship I'm going into. And that is what helps with the growth thing. So you are not just becoming better because you want to spite him, but you've owned some responsibility of what happened, and so you are changing yourself to become a better version of yourself for the next one you are going into, not to spite the other person. Okay. You need to accept that I did something. Once you do that, you need to make peace with where you are. And when we say accepting what is, it is knowing that this is where we have reached in this relationship, and there's nothing about trying to go back and correct it. But how can I move forward from where I am into a better one, so that will give me the end result that I think I was expecting in the other relationship. You wanted that relationship to maybe have ended in marriage, children. It did not. If you want to move on to another one to give you that kind of end result, then you need to make peace with what has ended and orient yourself in a way that when you go into the next one, what kind of conversations will I have? How will I communicate in that relationship so that it's going in the direction of what I wanted? Okay. People don't make peace when things happen. And if you don't make peace with it, you can't move forward. All right. If you make peace with it, you are able to clear your head and move forward. Okay. So accept your responsibilities that you contributed to where you got to, make peace with it, and then clear your head and know that I am now fully myself. This happened, and try to learn some of the good things that also happened in the relationship.
All right.
It wasn't all that bad. There were some good things too that you might have
Definitely.
learned, that you got out of it. Appreciate them.
Those things,
And you're like, wow, the 2 years with PG, these are some of the memories I had, and this is the lifestyle I had with him that I would still want to have. And so I'm grateful he taught me these things. Then you are becoming one with what has happened, and it helps you to move forward.
Thank you.
All right. So
Finally, PG.
yes, Adam. For me, I think that you've actually moved on, and you can actually feel that you've moved on when first the emotions that were so strong at the onset of the breakup are no longer as strong.
Yeah.
So, for instance, whatever emotions that you felt towards the person is no longer there again. So, whenever you saw the person, you felt super angry. But now you can actually see them and not feel that anger. You saw them and you felt this, hatred, or this desperation, or this sadness, or whatever the emotion is, after you've broken up for a while. I mean, you've moved on. When you see them, you think about them, you talk about them, people ask you about them. You probably see their social media posts because you chose to stay in touch, or people accidentally send you stuff about them, and then you can just you okay. Yes, it may probably not completely heal, I mean, in a short to medium term, but at least you are okay enough to have these conversations without that kind of, deep emotions at the beginning. Again, the other thing is also not to feel that attachment. There is a bit about the emotions, which are just the emotions, but then these emotions are eventually acted out. And when you are acting it out, that leads to some form of stalking, that leads to some form of wanting to call them, wanting to check on them, and then all of that. So there is the emotions, whether it's negative or positive, that you feel towards a person, but that's just within you. And then the second part is when you actually act it out. So you are like talking about them. You are literally telling everybody in the city, or everybody who cares to listen, how the two of you broke up and how it wasn't your fault and how he was malicious and everything. It's like you're constantly in the person's case. The person has moved on, constantly talking about it. When you begin to feel that you don't even need to talk about them, like you can go for a day, weeks, months, and probably don't cross your mind, then you've moved on. You also know you've moved on when you can finally look at another person and would want them for who they are. Like you can meet a woman and genuinely look at her and fall in love. Not because you're looking for a comfort food, a pacifier, something to replace another woman, but you genuinely love someone to the extent that that love is even overriding, not just superimposing, but overriding and completely removing the love that you had for your ex. You've moved on. Or, in this instant, it can also be for a man. You've moved on. So I think that, for us, you get to the point of knowing you've moved on when these emotions are sort of recalibrating themselves or resetting in you. No anger towards the person, no need to be in their business. And then you can actually look at another person. And then the final thing for me is ultimately when the two of you can be in the same space and you are fine. Mm-hmm. Like you said, yes, I also probably didn't like Ariel describing it as friendship, but just like cordiality. Yeah. I mean, I can just bump into you at the mall and, hey, how have you been? Wow, it's been a while. How are your parents doing? Like, how's your sister? How's your brother? Oh wow, it's been a while. Wow, you look good. All right, we'll talk again. That's it. If I don't see you for the next 10 years, I'm not having this conversation. Yeah. You understand? But when I see you, that cordiality has to be there. I don't want to see you and get upset.
What about him?
Yes, I don't want to see you. I don't want to see you and feel like, okay, am I with the right person? I need to prove a point. Like, hey, photo ops. Charlie, can we post? Take a picture, let's put it on Facebook like we are happy. I don't want to see you and have to have all these thoughts and I wish I should have done this. I could have said this. No, I should have held the other woman's hand like this or the other guy's hand. Like always trying to prove a point. No, I don't want to see you and go through all of that. And if I can be in the same space and I'm fine, we are cool. But we're just not connected. Then you've moved on. Great. But until you can sort all those things out, you haven't. Still need help. Yeah.
And it's important that you get to that point where you are moving on.
Yeah.
Because jumping into a relationship will just be that you want to fill a void.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not because you want to add on to your life. You
Rebound.
only want,
Yeah.
yes, you're
Rebound.
a rebound. And that can even be worse than the relationship. you
Edem,
left.
Edem, not to cut you short, there are so many guys today who, after 4 or 5 years of separation, they are texting their wives. I now understand what you meant when you said this. And then they come visit, and they don't want to go. They get comfortable in the hall. Then they start asking questions, and then they start
Who
moving.
are asking the questions? The men.
The men, yes, of course. I mean, I realized that Charlie, the fire was everywhere. But that fire was fire with pepper. So now I want to come back because they were quick, to move on. And sometimes it's also because other people probably inspired it. Maybe like talking to some other girl, so thought that let me just quickly transition into this relationship, and realize that it wasn't as good as I thought. But then they would have already created a mess, so they always want to come back and then all of that. But hey, if you've moved on, Edem.
Great.
Just moved on.
And one more
Move on.
thing that I would like to add is for you to always keep it at the back of your mind why the relationship ended.
Yeah.
Why did it end? If it was that's good, it really wouldn't have ended.
Yeah.
Yes, people do have their regrets. If you end it and you two are still very single, I mean, you two can tell me whether I am right or wrong. If it ended and we are all very single, but we went our separate ways for a bit and we have thought through it and everything, and we think we can make it up because we didn't give ourselves enough time
Yeah.
to really think it through, and we just ended it abruptly. And the things we have talked about this morning, if you are taking time to go through this when you say you don't want a relationship again, you might just get to a point and pause and go like, no, we can work this out.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Exactly.
We can work this
Yeah.
out, but
Exactly.
than being erratic about it.
Yeah.
If you're erratic about it, that's when you go
And then you
have
wanna
your
come back.
regrets, and you're not telling yourself the truth.
Yes.
You know
Yeah.
that I could, and then sometimes at that point, pride sets in.
Yeah.
So you're unable to go back to
Yes.
say that, listen, I have thought through all of this, and I think that the things you were saying, I could have worked
Yeah.
on them for
Yeah.
us to be
Yeah.
together. Then because you're feeling proud and you go like, he or she thinks I have come to beg. Then you say you have moved on. That's when you go and be doing all this nonsense
Yeah.
to yourself. So it's important that you go through. It's important that you go through all of these and make sure that we truly. In fact, the Weekend State Show team, they say we should take their 10 minutes
Oh, thank you.
and make sure that, because we were done. You have made up your
We can
mind
take
that
that show and start creating some comedy.
I know. And make sure that you truly have dealt with all the things. And for me, this is very, very important. We're going to package this checklist very well and put it out there.
Okay.
I mean, you won't find it in any book. These are from experiences, not personal experiences. Yeah, personal experience because we've talked to
Yeah,
people.
of course,
You know
of
people
course.
who
Yeah,
are
we've
in
heard
it.
people's
You've had
stories,
conversations
yeah.
with people,
Absolutely.
and you know that if you don't go through all of this and
Yeah.
you leave gaps,
Yeah.
the gaps will make you wonder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The gaps will make you want to come back.
Yeah.
The gaps will make you feel like I made a mistake leaving.
Yeah.
The gaps will make you feel like I need to prove a point. So, I mean, I will ask that. We've said, when you're angry, you're angry.
Yeah.
When you're angry, you're angry.
Yeah.
Go through your anger, emotions, and everything, and find out, does this warrant the end of a relationship?
Yeah.
If it does, then go through, like PG said, maturely, not banging doors, hanging up, throwing unnecessary shades and things like that. About go through it maturely, and because seriously, I mean, why? Were you created for me or I was created for you?
I
We
mean,
found
can you-
each
I
other
mean, yes.
and said we wanted. So if we truly have come to the point where we do
Yeah,
not
that-
want
yeah.
again, the same way we talked about wanting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There is this
Let's
band.
talk about wanting.
Yes,
and
there is
move on.
this band called Coldplay. It's one of the top British rock bands,
Okay.
alternative music. The lead singer is Chris Martins, and when Chris was breaking up with his wife, they called it a conscious
Uncoupling.
uncoupling.
Yeah.
that was the first time the word became a mainstream expression that it caught up, like conscious uncoupling.
There's
So
a
they were
book- there's a book on it,
Yes,
and
there
that's-
is
yeah.
that level of intentionality about it. There's that level of cordiality. There's that level of respect,
Yeah.
engagement.
Yeah.
It is like ending any and every kind of business relationship.
Yeah.
You know, we sit down, we look at our assets, we look at our liability, we see where we can, you know, if am I buying you out? Are we, you know, you look at all the differences and everything.
But PG, that's not to say that there won't be emotions involved. Right?
Oh no. But the thing is, listen, Edem, people go to court and they put up a face, and then they go home, they get in their cars and they break down.
Oh.
So yes, there will always be emotions. But the same way when you get to the court, the judge is not about to rule based on emotions, but based on the facts. And sometimes you get a lawyer to help you go through that, because probably you are not in that position. If you think this becomes difficult for you, get the help of a third party, a trained therapist or counselor who can help you sort your differences out. Let's sit down and talk through
about it,
and gradually, you know, help settle this. It makes it very easy.
Let me ask
for
this
you.
question.
Yeah.
So, in when you are, I mean, all of these things are also possible when we all have agreed that it's time to go.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
But at that point when one person feels like, I can make this work, give me the chance. We can talk this over. We can work at it. And the other person is adamant and feel like, I kind of feel this is the end of it. I'm not willing to work at it again. Then the burden is left on one person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that also?
Edem,
Because whether you like it or not, it is still
It's-
the end of
it's still the end
of
of
a
it,
relationship.
yeah.
But you haven't accepted that it should be the end.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I mean, so there is this. Yes.
Ariel.
There is this person. Let me just say, there is this person. I mean, she found herself in that situation. The husband said that because of X, Y, Z you did, I am moving on.
Yeah.
And there's no coming back. You've hurt me so much. I'm wounded deep down as a man. And there is no way I will look at you and see you in the same light
way I
again.
did.
Every time I see you, you remind me of those pains. So I will move on. It's not like the woman cheated or anything. It was just bits and pieces of comments that eventually got to the guy.
Oh dear.
The lady then said that, listen,
I'm sorry.
it's entirely my fault. Like, there is nothing you are saying about all the things you're saying that is wrong. I was just young. I was just too young. And I just lost
Adele.
myself. You know,
We
so
should look for the Adele song.
but I told the lady that, listen, the guy has made his mind. I mean, like, he won't talk to a pastor, he won't talk to a counselor, and he was in the position to talk to all these people because of what job he does and everything. But the guy was not willing. He was like, listen, I'm moving on.
Yeah.
Let's just move on. And so eventually I told the lady that, listen, if you want to go for a run like you're doing, I need you to do it for yourself. If you want to cut your hair and look good and look fab and everything, do it for yourself.
Yeah.
Make sure that your hair regime, your skin regime, everything is good. Make sure you're taking care of your work, you're taking care of yourself. Eventually, you need to come to that place of understanding that this is where you are.
This is where it is. Yeah.
But because he has not thrown you out of the house yet, and you haven't also left the house yet, you just stay there.
And do you?
Just do you. Thank
Do
you.
you.
Gradually uncouple emotionally.
Yeah.
So long as you are in that house, you will continue to have to prepare some basic house duties, like, you know, probably cooking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's fine. But begin to accept that reality. Day in and day out, when you see him and he doesn't want to talk to you, instead of crying, accept it. Instead of crying and wanting to still hold on to it, forcing a conversation, just learn to be alone.
Yeah.
Just learn to be by yourself. Gradually, you'll be in the same space with him, but you realize that you are moving on gradually, a day at a time. Sometimes you fail. Sometimes you probably want to sneak into his room and, you know, see if you can get some, and then probably change his mind.
Yeah.
But you need to understand that sometimes it won't work.
Yeah.
So over time, and over 6-7 months, she finally got there.
Got there.
Or
I mean,
after
the whole
6-7
thing
months, she
about
got there, and
moving
then,
on
you know,
is
she
a
moved on.
journey in itself.
It's a
It's not a
journey.
one-day
Exactly.
thing. And when we talk about boundaries, sometimes people feel boundaries are about the other person, but boundaries is actually the relationship you have with yourself.
Yep.
You know, the relationship you have with yourself, communicate your boundaries to people. So it will be difficult when you want to be in a relationship and the person says, for me, it's over. But you still would have to find a way to start owning yourself, because you can't give yourself to someone who doesn't want you. You can't. And the more you try to do that, that is going to be a burden on you, because this person who have made a decision will move on. And I think it is very important for us to understand this whole thing about the self, the you. everybody can leave you, but you can't leave yourself.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times people don't like themselves because they can't be with themselves. At the end of the day, Edem will be with Edem. Edem can't even go to the washroom without Edem. Everywhere you go, you are with yourself. So the primary responsibility is knowing how to be firm and grounded in yourself, even if you have a partner. Because if it's always about because somebody is there, that's why I'm grounded. So when people are not there, you are ungrounded. That will become a problem as you go along. And that is where it's difficult to make peace with situations that come our way, not just relationship. With simple things, we get all frazzled because we are not grounded. And being grounded and balanced in yourself is so important. You need to find a way that no matter how life shakes you, no matter how challenges shakes you, you are able to recalibrate, to balance into yourself, because you and yourself is forever and forever.
Amen. And it is not to say that it is easy, even if
No, it's not. It's a
not.
journey.
Especially so when in this situation, when you're willing to make amends,
Yeah.
you're willing to correct it, you're willing to try again, and the person says no. But you're blessed again if the person gives you reasons why they don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
We talked about it. If they walked out on you without saying anything, and that's immaturity on their part, and that also puts you in a fix. But in this situation, for instance, PG is giving us that I have sat with you because of A, B, C, D. Look, I could forgive you, or I have forgiven you, but trust me, we can't be the same again. You insisting to be in that relationship is you imprisoning
yourself. Exactly.
And like you have also rightly said, that is the point where you go like, look, it's my loss. It's my loss. Accept it. It's my loss. They're unable to forgive me. You can't force them to. They've forgiven you, but you can't force them to accept you back.
Accept you back. No.
So now accept yourself with your flaws, wear it, and do better for yourself, and move on. And I think PG did good with that. Try, and you are in there. You haven't left, but you have to find yourself. You have to start being strong. Accept that. People die. Right?
Exactly.
People
and
die.
what would you
And
do?
we'll move on.
Accept that people die. So, and this is him as an individual. This is me, a woman, as an individual. And I'm saying that I don't want to be in this space anymore. If you force me to be in this space,
it affects my well-being.
we will always have
an issue.
I won't be happy, and I will make sure you are not happy. Misery love company.
Or like instead of being happy, we are always talking about issues.
Exactly.
We are always solving problems. Who
Yeah.
wants to be in a relationship like that? So when it gets to that point, I think that we all have to just accept it that look, this is what it is. And sometimes, look, to be very honest with ourselves, when you're in a relationship and it is grinding to that point, you see it.
Oh, of course.
You know,
You
see it
see
coming.
Yeah.
2
You see
kilometers
it.
away.
You see it. You begin to take steps to see if it will work. If it is not working, even before we finally say it's a wrap, you should have worked on yourself.
Exactly.
Because the emotions, you can't run away from them. The crying, you will
You will
cry.
cry.
The tears, you will shed, but at the end of the day, this is you, and you've got to make it work. We will be leaving you now. It's been an interesting one, seriously. And I also think that we have shared all the nuggets there are to be shared on you moving on from a relationship. Proper closure, moving on, finding yourself, and truly being yourself and owning yourself, and not putting on a self because of another person. Who are you lying to?
Yourself.
It is yourself. And
yourself. It's always
I
the
will
self.
leave you with. Okay.
Give us a tell. Give us a tell.
Oh yeah, got it. I have it ready. So, please, good morning, Daniela. Please let Edem announce our 39th wedding anniversary. Okay. Bye-bye.
Drum roll.
Drum rolls and drama and everything. Please, Reverend, are you listening? Are they here now? Do we have to go? Please, can you just call them on the phone? We have the time. Call Reverend Asante J and his wife, and let's all wish them a happy anniversary before we go. Oh, when we started our inspiration series, they were on.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
I think I listened to
their
that.
conversation. Yes, the couple who didn't have a child,
Wow.
for some time, the challenges it brought to their relationships and all. But today, by the grace of God, they are grandparents, and they are
Nice.
is it 36 or 39 years in marriage? So congratulations. We'll just say congratulations to you on air very quickly, and then we're out. But it's been insightful, seriously. PG, thank you so much, and
You're welcome.
Ariel, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you
It's
for
been-
having us.
It's been very insightful. Next week we will come your way with another interesting conversation on Home Affairs, like we always do. Our mandate is to make homes out of houses. And PG, it's so beautiful to have you back.
Thank you, Edem.
I
Thank
needed
you.
to rub that in.
I'll be coming often.
It's something we're promised a lot these days. But what does more actually look like? Well, in Emirates Economy, it's endless entertainment on the biggest screens in the sky plus live sport. That's more. Gourmet cuisine that gives you a taste of your destination, served with free-flowing drinks. That's more. Special meals and toys for kids to keep your little explorers happy. That's more. So whichever way you look at it, more really does mean more in Emirates Economy. Fly Emirates. Fly better.
Vita is fortified with Nutri-V, which contains 16 essential vitamins and minerals, including zinc, calcium, and iron for your baby's healthy growth. Yum Vita, a delicious way to grow. This advert is FDA approved.
Hello, Reverend, are you there?
Hello.
Hi, Reverend Asante J. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Edem.
And, oh, wow. Are those your grandchildren? Congratulations to you and
Thank
Mommy.
you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm happy we had a bit of time to do this. Oh, wow. So how's the celebration going though?
It's tomorrow. And tomorrow we will worship at Habiba.
Oh my God, we can hardly hear anything. We can hardly hear anything. Okay, it's better now.
Right, hello?
Yes, Reverend.
Yes. Tomorrow is the 39th wedding anniversary.
Oh wow.
And we will worship at Calvary Baptist Church at Blekuma.
Okay.
And after that, we come home and continue to give praise and thanks to the Lord for His faithfulness. 39 years. It's been a long journey,
True.
but He's been faithful.
Great.
One day at a time, all challenges come. But because He's with us, He's been with us every step of the way.
We're grateful to God.
And we want to encourage all those who are still waiting for the fruit of the womb. The Lord is faithful. His own time, He makes all things beautiful. That's my granddaughter number 3, who is shouting all over the place.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much, Reverend, and congratulations.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Edem.
So we will leave you now in the hands of Adele, and then our weekend City Show team will take over.